Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning and welcome back. Andy Brownell along with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group RE Results on this Saturday morning. And we've been going through a bunch of articles written by folks who keep track of what's happening in the real estate business. And it's not a general theme, it's the universal theme is the real estate sector of the economy is doing really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Actually, very true. It's across the board.
And it is August. You were saying back in the dark days of late March and April that it would be a July, August, September
spring market.
Yeah.
I said our spring market will come this fall. And, at the beginning of the show today, you said you're not looking forward to winter.
No, I'm not.
And I'm actually really excited to see what this winter's going to bring, because I think this winter we're going to stay really busy in real estate. I mean, not that it ever goes away completely, but sometimes, the bad weather can be a deterrent, and people will say, you know what, I'll maybe wait a couple months till spring. I don't really want to go out looking at houses and trudge through the snow and fight the cold weather. But I think as long as the inventory is still low, and I think as long as the interest rates are still phenomenal, that people are going to be like, listen, when the right house comes along, I'm going to be ready to buy it. So get out the snow boots and let's do this.
Okay, I am not ever going to doubt your crystal ball, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty productive winter this year.
And in support of what you just said, I think it was the head of the Federal Reserve on Thursday made comments regarding the interest rates that suggested that this is going to be long term.
Yeah.
That even if we see an uptick modestly in inflation, the Fed's not going to take action at this point. They're more interested in economic activity.
Well, and it's exactly what I've said all along, is that I really feel like real estate is going to be one of the major drivers behind this economy getting back to where we were, or better.
Well, speaking about looking ahead to the winter and having demand still there in the real estate sector, one of the articles that you sent over to me was about surveys concerning consumer confidence, particularly with real estate.
And the one you're talking about was written by George Ratu, who's a senior economist for Realtor.com. So, I mean, this is what the guy does. This is what he researches, right? He understands the real estate market. And they polled 2,000 potential home shoppers, who indicated that they had plans to make a purchase in the next year. 63% of those currently working from home stated their potential purchase was the result of their ability to work remotely, right?
Yep.
They don't have to live. Actually, I know of a young couple who both parents are in Wabasha, and they're going to be getting married soon, and his job is up in the Twin Cities. But I was talking to his mom, and she said, I think the kids might end up buying a house in Wabasha because he's working remotely. So as long as they're going to approve that long term, they don't have to go live in the cities. They can stay here. And I'm like, it really is changing things for people.
And it's kind of the promise of this whole internet infrastructure we've been putting so much money into for so long. Somebody knew it was coming or something, right? I mean, let's face it, a lot of people worked from home. It's nothing new, but just not so many. Well, it's a different type of work that's taking place in home. It used to be these were the jobs where you had to be close to the office.
Correct.
Because you had to have access to all this data, and there was only so many centralized data points. Now this data is available anywhere in the world.
Right.
And quickly.
So of those 2,000 people, this is the good news, 40% of them plan to buy a house in the next 4 to 6 months. So now as long as I have houses to sell them, that'll be great. And 13% of those folks said that the changes that they're making are directly related to pandemic, for pandemic reasons.
I'll be honest, if I still had, my kids were still in school, and I was working from home, I'd be looking.
Yeah.
There's just no way we could do it with
Yep, it's so true. Yeah, it's just so true. You just have to have, I mean, if everybody's going to be doing this effectively, it's not like a day, one day the kids got to work. This is the way it is. This is the new normal. Yeah, so we have to be prepared if we're going to be successful. And
a lot of, as you've pointed out, some of the clients that you have, their jobs working from home, it's a permanent thing now. I mean, it's not, hey, the pandemic goes away and you're going to come back to the office. The companies or organizations they're working for are making plans that, no, you're going to continue doing this because we're finding out it's working.
Yep, exactly. And cutting costs. But then I think, okay, now how does that in the long term, how does that affect commercial building owners? You know, are they going to be losing their tenants? Are they going to be losing their rents? What's going to happen with all these big spaces? I mean, we've seen it started definitely in retail, correct? Yes. I mean, Amazon came along long before the pandemic, and people found out that they could just get online, look for exactly what they want, push order now, and boom, bang, in 2 days it was on their front doorstep. And that got to be a pretty convenient way of living. And then when stores had to be closed, even those of us who really liked shopping and liked going in and looking and trying on and touching, it stopped. So we got forced into buying online. And then even when things opened up, it's like, I'm pretty used to this now. It works, I'll keep doing it.
Well, but you know what that might be? That might be the next great opportunity. If you could figure out with all that square footage in the centralized downtown areas wide open, find a use for that space that makes money.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to sleep on that.
Well, I actually know one that I think is really cool. I don't remember where I saw it or read about it, but I loved it. So let's think about like that big Shopko building that Haley bought, okay, out on the... Yeah, Broadway. Okay, so when that was just sitting empty, I was like, what could that be? What could that be? Well, I remember reading or seeing it on TV. They took a big place like that and made it into a little mini city for elderly people. Oh. So like all around the exterior of the building, they punched holes, windows in the building so that the rooms that they lived in. So, I mean, think like nursing home, but upscale this to a little village, okay? So like a cruise ship that doesn't float.
A place to walk around and have a coffee shop. Yes, they could go walking through the parks that were inside. They'd have coffee shops, hairdressers, all these little things. They didn't have to leave. They didn't have to get in their cars. Their friends were there. But it was, it took big space. And I thought it was really cool. That's what I love, innovation, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You know what, we have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX results right here on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Welcome back to Rochester Real Estate with Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Welcome back. Good morning. Andy Brownell again, along with Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results here on News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM. Obviously, Robin, you pay attention to the news, and it's been a tumultuous year.
Oh boy, 2020, hasn't it been something?
It has, and the one constant in life is change.
Correct.
And we are going through a period of rapid change throughout our society, and I imagine that my industry is going through changes. The companies that operate in the media world are, and I imagine that in the real estate world, those same calls for change. And I think what we're talking about here is racial justice and related issues. Is it also, are those...
Even gender diversity,
Okay.
I mean, I think real estate has been a profession that has, for a long time, been dominated by white males, right? Much like the banking industry, much like many industries.
Right.
And clearly we've seen change, but I think, sure, now there's even white females. But, there's still the majority of the real estate industry is still not that diverse, and I want to even say not that inclusive. And I hate to say that because, I don't like to be that person that I don't like to be negative. I like to be positive, and I think that the opportunity is there, but how does it become more equal opportunity?
Yeah, the how is a great question.
And I thought that the article that was written, it was an eye-opener for me. The one that I had sent you, actually there were a couple of them. One was in Real Life, I think, and it just talked about the lack of diversity within our industry and how, the wake of all that's going on and all of the protests and all of the hatred we're seeing and just, all of this bad stuff. You and I have said many times as we've talked over the past few months that we can pray that something good will come out of everything bad, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I know I've told you many, many times that I'm so proud and fortunate to work for RE/MAX Results. I mean, it is such an amazing real estate company, not only the best brand in the world, but this particular company, owned by John Colopy. He's just an amazing person, and it is he's like the largest franchisee in the United States, and he does it right. He knows how to do it, right? So he's just got a first-class company with actually mostly women leaders. Our CEO, actually all women leaders. Our CEO is a woman. Our CFO is a woman. Our COO is a woman. Yeah, so anyway, John's the owner, clearly. But these women are cutting-edge leaders, and they are so smart about attacking things head-on. So here we are. We have offices up in the Twin Cities, right in the midst of all the turmoil. Literally, they had a couple offices that they had to board up during the protests and stuff. So, right there. And of course, you have, just like the whole world, you have realtors and employees on both sides of the fence, right? So there are those people that are saying, this is horrible that they're doing all of this. Just horrible. How could they be so destructive? And then you have the other voices saying, this is horrible that this is being done to these people. So it's all horrible, let's face it. But how do we move from horrible to peaceful? And how do we move from destructive to united? How do we do that? Yeah. And I think everything comes from the top down, right? And so I feel so fortunate to work for a company where our CEO has now decided what we need to do is form a diversity committee within our company to make sure that all of our employees, all of our agents, and most importantly, all of our clients feel very valuable, very welcomed, very important, and definitely need to be treated fairly. So we want to work for, I want to work for a company where the brand says we're good people and we welcome all people. It's not just words on paper, it's our actual environment, it's our culture. And again, I feel so excited to actually be a part of that diversity committee and to have my voice be a part of the changes that will be made. So it's really exciting. It's just another great thing about working for RE/MAX Results.
Speaking of exciting, and I don't mean to shift gears rapidly, but we're going to run out of time for our program.
No problem.
You have the grand opening for the
We do, our Wabasha office. Yes, it's coming up September 25th and 26th. So we're still, just about a month out, and we have a lot of fun things, and I'll go into details when we have more time on one of our next shows. But hope to see a lot of people come down from the cities, come over from Rochester. We've got a beautiful, beautiful listing on the river that we're going to take tours through, and if it's not sold. But anyway, it should be a lot of fun.
All right. We will talk about that one of these other weekends. But until, Robin, until next Saturday, it's always wonderful to chat with you, and good information today.
Yeah, thanks. Nice talking to you, too.
All right.
Have a great week.
That's Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results on News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
The following is a sponsored program paid for by Robin Gwaltney, Gwaltney Group. RE/MAX results. Welcome to Rochester Real Estate, featuring Robin Gwaltney from Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results and Andy Brownell. Here's Andy Brownell on Rochester's News Talk, 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM.
Good morning. Andy Brownell with News Talk 1340 KROC AM and 96.9 FM, along with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results. Good morning, Robin.
You got it out.
I got it out.
It's a mouthful.
Said it as fast as I could.
I'm good. How about you?
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
I'm kind of sad though as I watch the angle of the sun get a little lower every day.
I know. Gets a little darker each evening.
But that's
a little sooner.
It is what it is. We have to.
It is what it is.
You know, we would not enjoy summer as much as we do if we did not have winter.
You're probably right.
But that being said, I'm not looking forward to winter. But okay, we have been talking for quite a while about, especially since the beginning of the pandemic, that the housing market is so resilient. And you particularly were predicting a strong rebound from the deep, deep valley that we went through economically during the shutdown. And you shipped over a bunch of articles to me this week that I was able to read that more or less confirmed the things that you've been talking about for about 3 months.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that it all turned out the way I expected it to. I mean, I really had no doubt. I had people, and I know I told you this before, but I've had people call me and say, when's the bottom going to fall out? When are the prices going to start to go down? When are the foreclosures going to start happening? And I kept saying, you guys, that's not what's happening. This is a different sort of, this is a pandemic. This is health related. It's a different sort of recession, and it's not going to be the same. And a lot of people doubted that, but I'm very happy to say that I was right, and that information that I have been giving out was 100% accurate. And last week, it was reported that applications for new home purchases with home builders were 39% higher in July. 39% higher in July of 2020 than they were in July of 2019.
That one is a surprise.
Well, and unfortunately that's too bad because everything was really rolling with that, and then came this lumber price business. Because you probably also read the article that talked about lumber prices being up. Let me quote it. I don't want to misspeak.
Yeah, I wonder if because that was a month or so ago, because you first brought that up on this show. That was the first time I'd heard of it.
But this particular article was a new article, and it was an article, it was published, I guess, mid-July, but I don't think I had read this article, but yeah, it is a month ago. Anyway, it says that as of the date of this article, lumber prices were 60% higher over the past 6 months.
That's significant.
60%. That is significant. And what's really scary about that is that was all based on the fact, supply and demand, right? But then add in all those forest fires, add in all this damage done by hurricanes, because there are so many buildings and houses that are obviously going to have to be replaced. So there just drives up that need for the new lumber, and
Well, okay, so one of those, try to balance it out a little bit, half glass full point of view to it. That
sure.
The shortage was created because initially the lumber companies ramped down production because they made the wrong bet. Because
they didn't listen to my show, right?
But now you're right. These other factors will exaggerate it. But at the same time, that means the job market within the lumber industry is going to be extraordinarily strong as they ramp production up as fast as they possibly can. And that will have a good effect on the overall economy as we
it'll
rebuild.
all work out. It'll all work out. My point was, you remember when we all started to shelter in and work from home and the gas prices got down to like $1 a gallon?
Right.
Remember? We were talking about that. Well, if everybody would just kind of hold off on those new houses for even a couple of months, we would see the lumber prices even out in a hurry. But then when you add hurricanes and fires, you can't really hold off. So I just feel like the prices are going to stay higher longer than they would have to. And so what makes that really bad is people who want like first-time home buyers and affordable homes, that is not really compatible with new construction these days because there's just not enough margin for profit that the builders, with the expenses being as high as they are, they're not building them. So we're going to see a lot more mid-range and mid-high range houses being built because the builders are going to make it worth their time, be able to pay all the subs and still make a profit.
But that also might free up some housing inventory.
Let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
We haven't seen that yet, obviously. But the other part about the lumber prices, this is just me wondering. I wonder if the person who is looking at a $400,000 house, if that increase would be enough to deter them, because the article pointed out that 60% increase applies to about 20% of the cost of the house.
Right.
So,
correct.
So it doesn't translate into a 60% increase in the cost of the house.
Correct.
It's much, much smaller than that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and that's a really, really good point to make because the lumber, obviously, the cost of the lumber is, I think, one fifth of the house cost. Framing it up, I think, is 1/5 the house cost or something like that. So, yeah.
And that's where a lot of the lumber is used, obviously. I mean, you use wood other places, but...
Right, but that's the majority.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but that demand for people want the new home, obviously, because what that tells me is they're not perhaps the existing marketplace right now is limited for inventory, which is finally driving new home construction. That is good news for the rest of the economy.
Absolutely, it is. It is. And part of the new home surge is also there is a certain contingent of buyers, and I don't want to pick on the millennials because it's not just millennials, but there are certain buyers that they just are only interested in new construction, period. I mean, I've heard people say, I only want to look at new houses. I don't want to move into someone else's house.
Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also read that these millennials are driving a lot of the demand right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're finally hitting that age where living in dense housing in a downtown area is no longer all that attractive to them.
Well, and, the working from home, they're spending a lot more time at home. It's all those things. And if there's no, if there's not a lot of activity going on in those downtown areas, there's not a huge benefit to being there either.
Well, that's a good point with the restaurants and everything else.
A lot of factors that play a part.
And
it's fun to watch it all, how it, intermingles, how everything matters.
And it's always, the cause and the action and the reaction. And the reaction is so unpredictable that who would have thought that in this situation you would have people looking to move into bigger houses. But then if you actually think about it, it makes sense.
Right. Well, okay, so speaking about that, did you look at the article that was titled The Top Reasons People Are Moving This Year? Again, it sounds like they've been listening to us, Andy. Right?
It does. Listening to you specifically.
Says that the number one reason people are moving is because they're working from home, right? And so they want home offices. They want separate space that's quiet, where the kids don't come running through and the dog doesn't come running through. And when they're on those Zoom meetings, they have no interruptions. The virtual schooling.
Yes.
Right? They got to have a space for the kids to actually do their work and focus. And I mean, as of August 21st, 21 of the 25 largest school districts are choosing remote learning, affecting over 4.5 million students. So that's a lot. It's not just a few, right?
And I don't think it's going to go away in the near term.
No, I don't
think
so.
We're talking weeks of doing this. I think we're talking months. The third reason is a really valid reason for a lot of people. I wish I were one of them. People want that home gym. Okay, they absolutely want to be able to maintain a healthy lifestyle mentally and physically. And with the gyms being closed, and even some gyms are open, but people feel more comfortable in their own home, right? Yeah.
And outdoor space, we've definitely talked about that. People who live in apartments or live, where, okay, I'm only usually home to eat, shower, and sleep, but now I have to be here all day and all night. It would be kind of nice to be able to get out in the backyard or, get my dog outside where he can run around and play because I'm here all day. It's
Right.
not like just take them out for potty and then back in. So it's funny how it's affecting everybody's life differently, but definitely affecting everybody's life.
And it's created these new trends. It wasn't 5 years ago that if you were to read an article from urban planners, it was all a discussion of how to accommodate what they were predicting would be the push for more demand to be closer to the center of the downtown area. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you have this pandemic come through, and that prediction is out the door. I mean, it's gone. Yeah. And in fact, the pressures are the exact opposite.
It's exact opposite. I actually had a client in my office yesterday, just sold them a beautiful new home in Northeast Rochester a few years back. And they said, you're not going to believe this, but we're thinking about getting outside of town a little bit, maybe a farm, maybe some acreage. Just we're thinking that the simple life really looks appealing right now. And neither one of us has to commute to work because we're working remotely.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we're going to keep talking about these kind of things, and we're talking about Rochester real estate with Robin Gwaltney with Gwaltney Group RE/MAX Results, and we'll be back in just a moment on News Talk 1340, KROC AM at 96.9 FM.
We'll be right back with Robin Gwaltney and Andy Brownell on Rochester Real Estate. This is News Talk 1340, KROC AM and 96.9 FM.